Hey, what is going on, guys? Worst Trends here. My favorite franchise of all time is Mario. Its simple and fun gameplay is immediately understandable to everyone, and it's honestly the perfect franchise. No wonder it's the second largest gaming franchise of all time. Pokemon is the only thing standing in its way, and between you and me, its popularity is falling. I mean, think about it. You can find Pokemon haters all the time, but try to find someone who doesn't like Mario, much less hate him. Personally, I've loved these games ever since I was a little kid. My first video game I ever played as a kid was Mario vs. Donkey Kong March of the Minis. I still have the game to this day. However, even though I love these games, there's always one thing that just grinds my gears. The Mario timeline. The Mario timeline has been a site of argument for some time now, so I think it's about time I put what I think out there. This isn't necessarily going to be a timeline explained video or anything. This is just me getting the evidence and arguments for different Mario games and questioning their canonicity. I'm going to go through every game that might be canon, and I'll let you guys discuss in the comments. If this video is popular enough, who knows, maybe I'll make a follow-up video with help from you guys. But enough said, let's start. The timeline of the Mario franchise starts with, of course, the very first Mario game, which is obviously Donkey Kong. However, this doesn't start how you think. It's pretty clearly implied in some of the Donkey Kong Country games that the Donkey Kong in this game is actually Cranky Kong from said series. Now, if we look at the game Yoshi's Island DS, we can see that Mario and this Donkey Kong were babies at the same exact time. Meaning that this character right here in the original Donkey Kong game is not Mario. We can only assume that this is Mario's father, Jumpman. Thanks, MatPat. Okay, that might not be completely confirmed, and by that I mean not at all. But we're working with what we got here. Throughout this video, I'm going to try my best to hold on to a physical timeline. So we're going to place Donkey Kong right here at the beginning. Donkey Kong Jr. takes place seemingly immediately after Donkey Kong. In this game, Jumpman puts Donkey Kong in a cage leading to his son, Donkey Kong Jr., attempting to save him. Okay, first off, using what we already know, we can determine that Donkey Kong Jr. in this game is the one that we know in the modern games. This isn't very important right now, but it will be later. The thing with this game is that at the end of it, Jumpman dies. He falls from the stage and a halo appears above his head. Later releases of the game show him getting back up and running off, but it's clear that the original intentions of the developers was to have him die here. And I know what you're thinking, what about Donkey Kong 3? Jumpman can't die here if he's in that game. And I know, I wrote a whole previous version of the script where I ranted about this for quite a while. But the answer to this is actually surprisingly simple. Jumpman isn't in this game. And no, it's not Mario either. The main character of this game is actually Stanley the Exterminator, who is just some guy. This also helps prove that Jumpman dies at the end of Donkey Kong Jr. I mean, why else wouldn't he be here? So even if this game is canon to the Mario universe, it really doesn't matter and we can largely ignore it. Which is why I'm leaving Donkey Kong 3 off the timeline as we move to the first game with Mario actually in it. Next would be the Yoshi's Island series. This could technically take place before the Donkey Kong games, but I think it works better afterwards. Think about it, if babies are delivered from storks in this universe, then it would take some reasonable amount of time to get there, right? So, what if Jumpman and Pauline banged, and then Jumpman fights Donkey Kong and dies, leaving Mario and Luigi fatherless? The Yoshi series happens almost directly after one another. It starts when Kamek steals baby Luigi, leaving the Yoshis to save him, as well as keeping baby Mario safe. Once the baby Bowser is defeated, the babies are sent to the wrong house, kicking off Yoshi's new island. Then sometime after that, the baby Bowser steals all of the babies in the Mushroom Kingdom, leaving Yoshi to save them again. All of these are pretty self-explanatory and fit pretty well into the timeline. They'll especially help us later on. And while you could argue that Yoshi's Woolly and Crafted World should be next, I don't think they're canon. I mean, come on, they are literally games made of arts and crafts. How is this canon? Like, this isn't just a stylistic choice either. Yoshi's Woolly World story and gameplay are completely centered around the fact that everything is made of wool in this universe. So, it would just not work. This applies to Yoshi's Crafty World too, just to a lesser extent. So from now on, we're going to cast these two games into the dumpster and move on to the next game. Okay, this one's going to be quick. This game is when Mario and Luigi have grown up and are simply humble plumbers. There are just some turtles and other stuff the bros need to take care of in the pipes, and that's about it. Now, I know that Mario was in like a ton of other games with varying occupations, but this game is just going to represent all of those for the sake of simplicity. And yes, that means we are finally going to move on to a main series game with, after over 1,000 words, we have finally made it to a real Super Mario game. So let's just get right into it. Kingdoms are something that we're going to be talking about a lot in this video, so I think it's best I introduce them now. So it's established in multiple games that numerous kingdoms exist in this world, and these kingdoms each have their own distinct climates. Desert, taiga, etc. But there are two kingdoms in particular that are especially important to us, and those of course being the Mushroom and Bowser's Kingdom. This game doesn't have much story, but we can use our knowledge from the previous games to get a better understanding of it. So after some years, Bowser grows up and is finally in full possession of his entire kingdom. So naturally, he immediately begins to expand. So while it's hard for us to know for sure, it seems pretty certain that Bowser's Kingdom and the Mushroom Kingdom are pretty close together considering the amount of times Bowser invades it. Also, don't worry about Mario Odyssey, we'll talk about that later. So when Bowser first tries to take hold of the Mushroom Kingdom, the Toad Army goes on the defense. However, Bowser uses magic to transform every single one of them into bricks. Okay, let's just take a minute and stop here. Do you realize how many bricks are in this game? Like, there are tons of them, which is why I kind of doubt this. So in the original instruction manual for the game, it states that every brick in this game was once a toad. But like, that level of magic has never been seen before or after this. And bricks appear in so many later games. Are these the same toads left over from this game? Or does Bowser continue to transform them each time? If Bowser can just turn people into bricks, why doesn't he kill Mario and Luigi like that? The thing is, it just doesn't make any sense, and I know a lot of people like this dark twist, but it just does not fit the timeline. So for the remainder of this video, we're saying that bricks are bricks, and not toads. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, so Bowser defeats the Mushroom Kingdom's army, which is probably easily done because the Mushroom Kingdom is a pretty peaceful nation. That would be like if China invaded Bhutan. Like, it's just not even a fight. But after everything, Mario and Luigi decide to fight in the war, and the crazy thing is, they win. So, Mario saves the day. He single-handedly defeats Bowser and the Mushroom Kingdom is once again peaceful. Mario traveled through the Mushroom Kingdom, kicking Bowser's army out of the military stations or castles he put there, and Bowser fled back to his nation. After this, Mario is pretty understandably tired and goes home to sleep. This is where Mario 2 comes in. Both of them. It's been an area of argument for years about which Mario 2 is the real one, and I think I found a way to make everyone happy in this video. And to stop things from being confusing, I'm going to call the Mario 2 in Japan the Lost Levels, and the Mario 2 everywhere else Mario USA. So, it's no secret that at the end of Mario USA, it's shown that the game was just a dream. But where does the Lost Levels fit, you may ask? The same spot. When Mario goes to sleep, he has nightmares about the events that had just unfolded. Personally, I think it makes more sense for Mario to dream about the Lost Levels here. That game is very similar to Mario 1. The only difference is that it's way harder. It's like a nightmare version. But on the other hand, Mario USA is directly shown to be a dream. Mario USA is also known as Mario 2 to the most people. The Lost Levels may have been the first Mario 2, but Mario USA was released in North America and Europe, which has a few more people than Japan. So, which one did Mario dream about? I don't know, you pick, it doesn't really matter. No, the next game is not Mario 3. Don't worry, I'm going to get to it in just a minute. But anyway, Bowser's entire army has just been defeated by a single person, so when he rebuilds it, he decides he's going to start small. Dinosaur Island. It seems like Dinosaur Island, aka Yoshi's Island, is not part of the Mushroom Kingdom. Thus, the army does not protect it when Bowser invades. This time though, Bowser has the Koopalings, which are confirmed to not be his children. So my best guess is that these are just the most well-trained Koopas in the entire country, and Bowser just says that they're his kids. I don't know why he would do this, maybe it's like some North Korea glorifying leader type thing, who knows. The fact he has Koopalings in this game proves that Mario 3 must take place after this, but once again, I'll get to that later. So, Bowser takes control of the island, and the Mushroom Kingdom wants nothing to do with it, still recovering from the last invasion. Mario, saddened by this, remembers when the Yoshis helped him when he was a baby and decides to return the favor by traveling to the island with Luigi to save it. And once again, he does it. Bowser is again defeated and Mario sails home in victory. By now, Mario is famous within the Mushroom Kingdom, and at some point the kingdom orchestrates a massive play about Mario and Luigi's adventures. This, of course, is Mario 3, which is confirmed by the creator to just be a play. This play takes elements from both of Mario's previous adventures and dramatizes them immensely. I believe that the worlds in this game are based off the real in-universe kingdom seen in Mario Odyssey, which, again, I will get to. The desert world is based off the Sand Kingdom, the water world is based off the Seaside Kingdom, and Bowser's Kingdom is transformed to what is basically hell. Instead of Mario pushing Bowser out of land he doesn't belong in, the play shows Mario traveling to Bowser's Kingdom and defeating him there, and it's because of this play that Mario develops just a bit of egotism. To be honest, there isn't much evidence to support Mario 64 being next in the timeline other than the release order of the games. There really isn't much story in this game at all. Peach just tells Mario to come to the castle for cake, only for the reveal that she's been kidnapped. I'm pretty sure that Bowser was the one who wrote this note just so Mario would go to the castle, but why? There's no trap there, Bowser just tells Mario that he kidnapped Peach, so there's no real reason for him to do that. Honestly, I just think it's bad writing, and we'll leave it at that. Also, we learned from Mario Odyssey that the portraits on the walls teleport you to real places in the world, but I have no idea where they'd be on the map. Again, we will get to Mario Odyssey and all the problems it creates. Super Mario Sunshine is a game that really helps out the timeline. It even confirms the placement of Mario 64. You see, in the opening cutscene, when Flood first meets Mario, he scans him. When he does the scan, we can see clips of Super Mario Bros., Super Mario World, and Super Mario 64. Because, up to this point, these are the only games to actually take place. The fact this scan doesn't include the Mario 2s or 3 makes perfect sense. Remember, Mario 2 was a dream, and Mario 3 was a play. Both of these games never really happened. Mario 1, World, and 64, however, did. This also helps us place Mario 64 on the timeline. The scan shows Mario 1 first, which we know is the first game in the timeline, followed by Mario World, which we know must be next, and finally 64 is shown last. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we can talk about the actual game. In this game, Mario's on vacation with Peach to Delfino Island. I mean, after you've saved your country 3 times, wouldn't you want a vacation? However, things go wrong when Mario is arrested, and eventually we meet Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr. is Bowser's biological son, not the Koopalings or Koopa Kids. How did Bowser have a biological son? Don't think too hard about it. But anyway, it's shown that this is the first time Mario and Bowser Jr. meet, which is just another reason for this game's placement in the timeline. I know I'm a bit out of order here, but I just wanted to talk about Sunshine right after 64 to clear that game up. Because Luigi's Mansion takes place between Mario 64 and Sunshine. Exhibit A. In Mario 64 DS, which for all intents and purposes we're calling a retelling of Mario 64, King Boo tells Mario that he just might lock him in a painting. So even though this specific version of the game isn't canon, this is still Nintendo hinting at what game goes where. Exhibit B. People always like to talk about why Luigi isn't in Mario Sunshine. Well, after the events of Luigi's Mansion, Mario would want to go on a vacation to relax, but Luigi just got a new mansion and he'd probably want to stay where he is instead of flying far away. I know I don't have the strongest evidence for this game, but I still think it's where it goes. So at this point in the series, it's hard to know the exact placement of games. I mean, most games stop referencing each other, and any spin-offs are questionably canon themselves. But looking at it with the release order, New Super Mario Bros. Should be next. All I can say for certain is that it has to take place after Sunshine because Bowser Jr. is in it. And that's it. We also know that New Super Mario Bros. 2 takes place directly after the first game because of 1, the name, and 2, the opening cutscene. So those two are pretty cut and dry, but there is actually one element of these games that causes a few problems. Dry Bowser. So at the beginning of New Super Mario Bros., Bowser falls into the lava and all of his skin and flesh is burned off. Quick question. Why does this happen now and not in Super Mario Bros? Or in Super Mario 3D World? Or New Super Mario Bros. Wii when he just walks through it? Or how about in Super Mario Galaxy when he falls into a star? It just flat out does not make sense. At one point I even questioned this game's canonicity. But then, just when I was about to give up, I decided to watch a YouTube video with all the cutscenes. As you can see, Bowser comes back as Dry Bowser, and after he's defeated again, Bowser Jr. throws him into a pot of something and he comes back to life. This series is no stranger to random convenient magic stuff. The new Super games especially have a lot of that. So I guess this just means that every time Bowser falls into lava, all of his skin is melted off and he has to use magic to turn to normal. I guess it works. Alright, so these games have the most story out of anything in the franchise. And because I just spent 2 minutes talking about a single character, I'm going to gloss over most of this. So in this game, Bowser does some stuff and falls into the sun like I said before. And at the end of the game, Rosalina resets the timeline and brings us back to the beginning of the game, kicking off Mario Galaxy 2. First off, that's stupid. Secondly, the timeline just splits and comes right back together. End of story. Alright, these next 4 games have absolutely no concrete order. There is not a single thing I can find that puts these in order. It really could be any of the 24 possible combinations. So I guess I'll just put them in release order on the timeline because I don't really have much of a choice. Oh yeah, Bowser's Fury probably takes place directly after 3D World, by the way. So if you've been paying attention so far, you'd realize that 2 mainline games have been missing so far. And if you're smart, you'll know why. The Mario Land games are absolutely bizarre. This YouTuber, Mentuk, actually made a great video on this. But the first game takes place in the completely different kingdom of Sarasaland, where Mario saves Princess Daisy instead of Peach. And the second game has Wario taking over Mario's castle when he was busy in Sarasaland. This game is also Wario's only appearance in the mainline series. So yeah, these games just do not fit cleanly in the timeline. I could be like MatPat and say,
as he hops on over to the Game Boy for the Super Mario Land series. With his younger brother swooping in and stealing his girl, Mario leaves, pursuing an adventure in the country of Sarasaland, where the events of the first Super Mario Land take place. Here, Mario saves a new princess, Princess Daisy, from an evil alien named Tatanga. How do we know it's at the end of the timeline? Well, notice the heart. Mario's affections have moved on to another woman.
But that's kinda lame. So I don't really know what to do. These games don't show up in Flood Scan or are even referenced in the rest of the Mario games, outside of some music tracks. There really isn't much I can go off of, so I'm gonna leave this one to you guys. Let me know if you have a solution to this. Hey guys, so I actually wrote this script before the trailer for Super Mario Wonder came out, and I didn't feel like reworking the whole thing to include that, so I'm just throwing this in here. So this game is pretty interesting from like a franchise standpoint. It's like a whole new take on New Super Mario Bros. Because the last game was over a decade ago, and we're finally getting a new 2D Mario game. But that's obviously not important right now. We're still focused on the timeline. So in this game, Daisy's here. Like this actually kind of changes a lot, because I think it's completely plausible that we go to Sarasaland in this game. I mean, just look at like the most recent Mario games. There's tons of references in Mario Odyssey, like I was just saying, and then in Bowser Fury was just tons of Sunshine references. So I think it's completely possible that we go to like Sarasaland, and like the whole like Mario Land is like a really weird game, and that really fits like the new like Wonder Flower mechanic, because that's also really weird. So it is definitely possible that Super Mario Wonder makes both Mario Land games canon, because remember, if the first game's canon, Mario Land 2 takes place directly after that, so that would likely be canon too. So I just wanted to throw that in here. This is completely unscripted, as you could probably tell. But I'll probably buy the game once it comes out, and I'll make a video on it once I play it, just to see how it like relates to the rest of the timeline. And then that'll probably be the part 2 of this video, whenever that comes out. So let's just move on to the conclusion. Well, I've avoided talking about this one for a long time, but it is finally time to delve into Super Mario Odyssey. Let me start off by saying that I don't hate this game. In fact, I love it. It's actually my favorite game of all time. My problem with it is how it absolutely destroys the timeline we've established. Firstly, let's go over the things that help its canonicity in the timeline. Well, for starters, the kingdoms in this game do line up with the worlds in Mario 3, like I said before. And honestly, that's kind of it. This game really does a number on the timeline, so let's start off with the basics. The map in this game is terrible. I think it would help us in determining the timeline, but it just makes things more confusing. For one, the Mushroom Kingdom is shown as an island. That would be fine. Everything so far has implied that Bowser's Kingdom is relatively close to the Mushroom Kingdom. And it is, sort of. The thing with this map is that we have no idea how big it is. The planet could be the same size as Earth, or it could be way smaller. But I don't think it's bigger though. That just wouldn't be a very good design decision. Neither of these options are very good though. If it's smaller than our Earth, then why haven't we heard of any of these nations before? If the world is small and the countries are this close, then why have we only seen the Mushroom and Bowser Kingdom? If the planet is the same size as Earth, then wow, the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser's Kingdom are super far away. How does Bowser keep getting here every time? This is miles upon miles of ocean. How does Bowser invade the Mushroom Kingdom a dozen times without ever being noticed beforehand? I always thought that the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser's Kingdom bordered each other, and that was why he was always invading. It was because the Mushroom Kingdom was just the closest. But this implies that Bowser flies between two entire oceans all of the time. Do you remember at the end of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, when Bowser and the Koopalings had to fly home in a tiny clown car? That had to be hours of travel, if not days. Also, if Bowser is trying to expand his kingdom, why does he never travel this way? No one lives here. The kingdom fell, so he could just capture all this land, right? Nope. Instead, he just focuses on this tiny island miles away. Also, isn't the Mushroom Kingdom supposed to have at least 8 different climates? Plains, desert, tundra, seaside, jungle, mountains, clouds, and volcano? These are all the biomes in the new Super games. There's even a map for these games, showing that all of these biomes connect. And I just want to say that obviously a desert doesn't border a tundra in this world, that's just a gameplay mechanic. But it does suggest that all of these biomes are either A, all inside of the Mushroom Kingdom, or B, closely border it. A lot of the time in these games, the volcano or lava world is Bowser's Kingdom, meaning that no boats are required to walk from the Mushroom Kingdom to Bowser's. But that's only one of the travesties this game has committed. The next is the magnitude of places missing from the map. Isle Delfino, Sarasa Land, Dinosaur Island, Bowser Land, Lake Lapcat, all of the places from Mario 64 are completely absent from this map. Where do any of these games take place on this map? The crazy thing is that Isle Delfino was originally included on the map on the Odyssey, but it was just colored over later. It's like they're trying to show that it's not canon. They could have just adjusted the model, but instead they colored over it. Why? It's even questionable if this game is canon at all. But there's so many references to previous games that it would be weird for it not to be. Wait, the references. This game has so many references to previous titles. It has the tree from 3D Land. Toad has a map of the Bob-omb battlefield. The entirety of New Donk City is based around the original Donkey Kong game. But have you ever really thought about that? It's so weird that this city has pictures of Pauline, Jumpman, and Donkey Kong up on the billboards, with the original Donkey Kong logo too. Something like this just doesn't make any sense. Jumpman was presumably just some normal guy who defeated and enslaved an ape. Why would a city post stuff about him everywhere? It just doesn't make any sense. Just like all of the Mario Kart 8 companies on Mario's racing outfit. There's so many things in this game that just push it further and further away from the timeline. But there's nothing ever definitive enough to prove it being canon or not. But then, I noticed something. When watching a playthrough of the game, I saw something that blows everything completely out of the water. At the end of the game, when Mario captures Bowser, images from Bowser's past flashes around Mario. In the background, there's a blink and you'll miss it, barely noticeable, extremely groundbreaking recording of Mario 3. And that does it, ladies and gentlemen. Super Mario Odyssey is not canon to the Mario timeline. Case closed. Well, that's pretty much it. We got our timeline. The Mario Odyssey supporters got owned. And yeah, there were a lot of games I didn't talk about, like Mario and Luigi, Captain Toad, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong March of the Minis. But I know what you've all been waiting for, so there's no use pretending I forgot. Is Super Mario RPG canon to the Mario timeline? No. Why? Because I hate you guys.